Hello, host Eric here with Waits McGee, who's
Hello.
who's waiting to find out what we're talking about. And this is what it is: a guide on trying new things and acting upon ideas for INTPs or INFPs, or presumably even INFJs. The answer is yes. I can do a guide on that. So let's guide people, Waits McGee, on trying new
Mhm.
things and acting on ideas rather than just mulling them over forever. My first thoughts are this: keeping in mind that the INTP is judging first, it's hard for me to conceive of what would be operative within that reality. My own reality is so markedly different that it'd be a challenge. It's a challenge for me to think, well, this will work because what I'm really thinking is this will work for me given how I am and the way I operate. So when I try to think about this, I try to think of it in terms of what makes it uniquely more challenging for the INTP than for the ENTP. And the answer is it's the SI in the third slot because I was reflecting today that the reason I don't have FI awareness very developed is because to develop my FE and be effective in it, because it's in third slot, it requires a lot of active attention, conscious attention from me. It doesn't. I can get fairly habituated to it, so it feels more natural. But it is something that I have to attend to, or I will not default to the right choice all the time. Whereas I will default to the right choice all the time in NE. It's like because NE's right choice is whatever's different. I will successfully identify. Oh no, avoid that, avoid that, avoid that because it's derivative or whatever. Uh,
Mhm.
but I won't default to the right choice necessarily with FE, so I have to attend to it consciously. Which means, to the extent that I have conscious attention on feelings, it's straining to focus itself entirely on FE, and therefore it has to deny FI's even existence for it to be effective where it needs to be effective. And it's interesting. The reason I made this observation is because my debater Lyle, who I finally realized yesterday was an INFJ, I've never been able to type him. Because he's one of my smartest debaters, picks up the arguments really fast, seems like an ENTP, but he's really nice to everybody and like manages the group well, you know, and
Yeah,
like manages the
that is
group,
different.
like come on guys. He's like that one kid in South Park who's got the crutches. So I was like, it's okay, guys. Let's make the best of it. He's like that kid. He's always say shit like
Jimmy.
that. Like, come on,
Yeah.
guys. If we work together, we can do great this time. So I didn't know
It's
what he
always
was.
impressive how people don't see through that.
Um, so I will answer that next aspect of the question as I complete this
Mhm.
thought, which is he is unable to follow instructions very well about what I consider basic computer competence skills, like copy, paste, save to this folder. He's constantly, he never knows what folder he saved anything to. He's a mess. Why? Well, 7 slot TE because, yes, he's very
Yeah.
smart. He's got that TI working hardcore, but that requires all his attention. He doesn't have T left over on to spend on the unconscious one. So this brings me finally to getting to the question, and I did have a point there, right? Which is for you guys, of course, it's SI. So I would suggest that to the extent that an INTP is going to successfully be more actionable on their ideas and be more interested in trying new things, the answer is unconventionally to de-emphasize SI. So you got to and normally what would normally be an SI time, you say, okay, now it's time for me to sit down and enjoy this cup of coffee while I settle into my what I call my deep reflection period. After my mid-afternoon medium deep reflection period, I usually enjoy a light meal. I have a long conversation of 2 sentences with Bob, and then I settle in for my deep meditations coffee. So this is it. When you're sitting there going, now I'm feeling my introverted sensing. I know who I am. I feel my body. I have a sense of myself as an identity through time. You got to forsake that shit, and it'll replace with SE. This is my operating theory. It's going to magically replace with SE. How do you like that for a solution? It's easy. See, you just get a little bit of magic plus a little bit of sensibility, and voila, you're fixed.
Yeah, that'll work.
Thanks. Any other thoughts besides, yeah, that'll work? I didn't really give you much space here, did I, Wade? So I kind of took over.
No, but that's cool. I think they're too comfortable in their thoughts and in their head, and that's where they're safe. So why do they need to ever leave their headspace if it's providing them all the entertainment and problems that it is?
I mean, I one thing I've always been a little bit envious of INTP of, and this is why it's a hard thing for me to address, is I'm kind of envious of their being satisfied in terms of a different kind of ambition. Like the way that Zachary, even though it made no sense at all, in any self-interest way for him to do this, he wasn't really feeling like making the kind of videos people wanted to watch about like dating advice that were getting lots and lots of views and shit, right?
Yeah.
And he wanted to do college, even though he knew it was much less economically viable for him long run. Or I think he believed that. As I explained to him, you got to think in terms of like, you're so young, think in terms of like 10 years. Build up a big fucking pile of things that have potential residual kind of shit going on.
Yeah, it sounds like he got burned out really fast on the whole idea.
But I mean, I'm envious of that aspect of the INTP that he made peace within himself on the notion that he was going to make.
Yeah. If it's all his own thoughts and his own ideas, it wouldn't be hard to, because it's like a closed system, so it's
kind of, well,
you could believe anything if you're just dwelling within your own mind. Like the mind's its own place.
But I think this is where the SI component comes in.
Yeah.
They can keep doing as much. All the TI shit won't get in the way of them doing stuff. TI doesn't get in the way of ENTPs doing stuff, even if the stuff they're doing isn't really worthwhile. They're just whatever, kicking something down the street.
It is stuff.
It's still something, So it's not the TI that's causing any problems. So I think that they could still maintain their nature, but instead of well, there was something he says here. What was something we were talking about that led me to. Well, I mean, I think if you can find a way to do activities that are SI, but nevertheless productive in a creative sense, then that would be perfect, right? If you could find, like, this is perfect for me because it's all NE, but it uses TI and FE as I want to, but it's fundamentally ruled by the lack of rules. If you can find actions that are fundamentally ruled by the fact that they are adding nice components to your identity, if you start to frame it in that sense, like, okay, I'm an INTP, part of my SI is a sense of myself as a permanent entity through time. So it's part of my identity building process. I'm coming up with narratives that represent me. Concepts, self-concepts, and cognitive tools, analytical processing tools that I utilize to better understand and define the self that I project out into the world and that I muse upon internally, and the guy driving the bus of the single self illusion, or something like that, right? You're doing work on that regularly. So you just have to find a way for you to buy into the narrative that when you're doing work you find actually productive, like TI work or shit like that you think to yourself, this is part of who I am. This is part of who I am. This is part of who I am, which it is. You're not going to be just saying words to yourself to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, this is part of why I'm cool. part of why I'm good. This is part of where I'm better than other people. These are
Yeah,
thoughts that make the ENTP feel like, oh, I'm not a complete waste of air and dirt. And I can show that I'm better than some people at some things. And that I
mm,
can know, like, see, I'm the guy who's useful because I can do this. I can do this for you. I'm useful. Like that shit.
yeah, they have to slightly reprogram their whole way of being.
That's what I'm saying. Don't pick those ones. I said those are my reasons for doing shit. But the key element is whatever it is you want to do. If you make it part of an identity thing rather than
I assume it's they don't know what they want to do is the thing.
I don't know. I think a lot of them do want to know. They do
Or they
know.
have lots of ideas about different avenues that they could pursue and they don't know which to commit to.
Well, I have that problem too.
Yeah.
I think the INTP's problem is what I think Barry said it, or somebody said the other day that it made sense to them that they'd want to make sure the videos they were making were really clean and make a
Yeah.
lot fewer of them because they were anticipating enjoying the process of revisiting those things and having them not annoy them in any way. I understand that, and I feel the same way in the sense that when I watch older videos that do annoy me, it annoys me. But the difference is, it doesn't annoy me that they exist. I just don't watch those ones.
Yeah, you moved on.
Right. Yeah, and that's another difference. You guys are kind of offense in that regard. You want to know you've got an affirmative defense. For me, it's adequate to know that I've got a defensive defense, which is I've got if called out on something, anything, I can always say, yeah, but these other videos prove the exact opposite. So it's a wash at worst for me. So too bad for you. That's enough for me. I don't need any more. I don't need any more preparations for war than that. And to me, that's the best preparation for war is just let's make infinite different kind of tools and lay them all around us and make them all able to kill people in some way or another.
Yeah.
And when people come around, if we discover suddenly we need to kill one, we just reach down and pick something up and oh look, it's a sword.
This will work.
Yeah, that'll work. Oh, it's
Yeah,
it's
cover
a bow
all
of
your
a fallen
bases.
foe.
Cover all your bases in barbed wire.
You know, if you got all your videos spread out all around, you go, okay, there, attack. Now you attack.
Yeah, there's nothing they can latch onto because there's so much they'll never get a complete comprehension of the breadth of the content.
And the way people attack usually is they do a personal attack that's based on a sort of like reductive interpretation of me based on this one video they didn't like. It's probably the one where I'm talking shit about ESTPs or something. And then they launch into this like, you are so insecure. It is so obvious that you are so insecure. And I say, well, I am quite insecure. And here's a couple links of videos in which I talk about how I'm insecure, why I'm insecure, and how that insecurity expresses in the world. After you've watched them, come back and provide more feedback for me.
Please enjoy.
Yeah, please enjoy. How the fuck are they going to respond to that?
Yeah, it takes away all their ammunition.
Niche dogging. I'm actually quiche dogging. A common mistake. I'm known to harry quiche wherever it goes. Give it a moment's peace.
And since your channel's not really based on anything, it can be everything.
It's based on quiche weights. Okay.
Oh,
I thought I made
that is
clear.
now it's super niche.
Well, look, if you look at the channel art, what you'll see is kind of hidden in the background. There's a shadow word that says quiche. You gotta kind of strain your eyes to see it. But
It's all in the subtlety.
one thing I was thinking about maybe doing for the channel art actually is adding the like I don't know what they call it. You know how like McDonald's, loving it. It has a little phrase after it. This is
Yeah, tagline.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I was thinking I have a couple possibilities. One would be the whole of the law, but it may be too subtle for it to be understood by everybody. But do you understand it?
Whole of the law.
Yeah, it because it's part of the original like the 1920s when people started making this shit up. The original interpretation of Satanism, and its
Mm.
commandments are do as thou wilt, that shall be the whole of the
Yeah.
law, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That was into
I think whole
LaVey
of the law
Satanism.
or the whole of the law would be a good way to reference that pro individualist uh,
Mhm.
philosophy.
You do have that Anton LaVey hairdo.
Did he have this hair?
I think he shaved it all the way, but he had kind of that beard.
I went to his grave and I severed his face and I glued it onto mine. I'm hardcore.
He was an interesting fellow.
Tell me about him. Do you know much about him?
I only know vague things, but he's a bit of a charlatan and kind of came up with this cult that he got people to believe in based around,
Ah,
Aleister
charlatan.
Crowley. Well, a little bit.
Now that's some strong language there. Wait, when you really
Well, I think he
want
would call himself something of that, too.
when you really want to take somebody to the woodshed, you ne'er do well. You
Thank you.
don't say it. Don't say it. Charlatan.
Charlatan. Blasphemer.
You called me a charlatan.
At least he didn't call you a harlot.
You're standing there, this like smoking assault rifle next to you, and behind you, a restaurant full of dead bodies. The cops show up. And, here's my information. You'll probably need me to sign some paperwork or something, but it's open and shut. She called me a charlatan. Okay, officers, just let him go home. This is open and shut. He's right. That's self-defense. Clearly self-defense. Go ahead. Thanks, you charlatans. Yeah.
That's a good word.
Well, and how many opportunities do you really have to use it to refer to to contemporary people? Not very often.
Yeah.
What's a
Well,
contemporary person you would call a charlatan?
Because you could say any politician if you go the idea of fraud or someone who's pretending to be a hypocrite, but it's a little more specific than that.
Yeah, I wouldn't call politicians charlatans. I would say like that those people.
It's
who
usually
claim,
more about religion or
people
like
who
your
claim to talk to your dead relatives.
psychics and snake oil salesmen and homeopathic.
Do you have any dead grandparents?
Let's see, at least 4.
Okay, I'm going to talk to their spirits right now, and let's see how spookily accurate I could be.
Okay. I'm game.
I'm getting it. I'm getting a feeling. It's coming to me. It's a male spirit. It's one of your grandfathers. Let's see. Okay, he's giving me a J or an S or a, what's his name? John or Steve?
No.
Okay, well he was helping me. He was helping me to eliminate those possibilities. Okay. Oh, I feel as though he died from something in the chest area probably or the head
He
area.
did.
He did, didn't
The
he?
chest area. He had a heart attack.
Wow. Okay.
How
Well.
did you know?
Oh, he says he's at peace now. He you
That's
worried
what I
about
needed
him.
to
You worried
hear.
about him. You prayed.
I do.
He
I
heard your
do.
prayer that one time. Okay. Well, I proved it.
Wow. You are not a charlatan.
No, I am not. I tell you who is a bit of a charlatan. Your dead grandfather.
Well, he was an actor, so.
You know, he was trying to convince me of some pretty questionable stuff.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like him. I didn't know him, but it must be like him.
It was exactly like him.
Yeah.
It was.
I have epigenetic memories of him.
Yeah. That's an interesting idea. Epigenetic memories.
I've heard some people trying to claim that.
Well, I mean, because epigenetic is sort of like your body's memory of environmental
Yeah.
impacts on genes. So to say that you have epigenetic memory would be to say that somehow your genes remember that they have epigenetic changes that comprise a phenotypic memory cube of genotypic changes caused by environmental factors. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people saying they're cross-generational. It's almost like Dianetics and Scientology kind of bullshit.
I'm curious about it though, because
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
I mean, the whole idea of epigenetics in general is, and there's a couple other things like that, are part of why I have since I've been about 16 or 17. I've been anti-Darwinism.
Hmm.
Because of course we've yet to see actual species change occurring ever, right? And um, it it wouldn't make sense. The model, it provides too slow adaptability. It's too slow. It doesn't work. It can't work. If you think about it,
Yeah, I
it
don't
just
know if
can't
they
work.
suggested in disease changing and how that adapts. And viruses and
Okay, well, I mean, there does seem to, in general, be a different set of rules for quantum and macro level shit, right?
Mhm.
And microbial level stuff is obviously not quantum, but it's
No.
conceivable that the that it's a macro thing that prevents speciation. Because that's a weird thing, right? It's the strangest thing. No matter how much we fucking change animals, we can't speciesate them. We can't turn them into different species. So Chihuahuas can still mate with Great Danes. If Darwinism were correct, then that wouldn't be the case. They'd be different species. Score another one for host Eric.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Now that we've proved McDonald's is healthy and that evolution is
I'll
fake.
go along with that one. Yeah, I'll have to
Yes,
think about the other one for a
thus
while.
far I'm attacking all the old what is it? Canards.
The old guard, yeah.
I'm going to demonstrate the dryness of water soon, and
Mhm.
explain how the Earth really is flat.
Flat Earth Society, represent.
Mm-hmm. My first three miracles. See, Yayler's got his miracles, right? Yayler's miracles are things like, what was the first miracle? I forgot already. I have to check the tape.
Magnets.
It wasn't, but You're on to something there. It's close. Regardless of his first miracle, um, I think my miracles of a different variety. My miracles are successfully proving things that are obviously false. So, one such thing is I proved is that McDonald's is healthy. Another thing I proved is that atheists praise God. Atheists pray to God for their powers. And I additionally proved that this new one. What is it again?
Mm.
Oh yeah, that Darwinism is fake.
Yeah, there's no dark.
There's
Yeah.
no Darwinism, right? So it's pretty good. It's pretty good for a couple of weeks' work.
Yeah.
I guess I've been thinking about it a little longer than that, but it's not a McDonald's thing, but Darwinism thing I've been
No.
thinking about for ages.
Yeah. I do think it's a matter of a lot of time.
It's a matter of that it's bullshit. That's what it's a matter of.
Nah.
Why would you think? What possible reason do you have to think species change into new species due to adaptations to environmental changes?
Well, like, we have wonderful things like the duck-billed platypus and other strange creatures.
Those, but I mean, you're pointing to things that have already finished evolving as evidence of
Hmm.
evolution, right?
Yeah. So do you think humans aren't evolving and changing?
I think we are, but only metaphysically.
Mm. I heard of an idea that the brain is expanding because of entropy.
I don't know the link there between entropy and the brain expanding, but I'm sure there's
Well, I
one.
guess it's the idea that there's space in the brain, so the brain kept expanding because of energy.
Uh,
It's sort of interesting idea.
it is kind of interesting.
So then you have these new thought processes that you might not have supposed to have.
But do you get my point about the fact that
Yeah.
we've seen species go extinct? We've seen species that look like they evolved from two different species. We've
Hmm.
seen species that can mate and produce a new species, sort of, except that new species can't breed. And we've seen a changing a species so dramatically that two members of the same species don't look anything alike, but are still the same species because they still can breed with themselves and each other and not anything else that looks more like them but is different genetically. So, okay, it takes thousands of years for the mutations to be radically different, but no environmental changes allow that slow adaptation and also have it meaningfully adapt to anything. Right? It's illogical.
Hmm. Still hard to explain the viruses then, though.
Because viruses evolve.
Yeah. And adapt and change.
Well, but the real question is how do we define the species then? Because
Okay.
because those moths, when the factories in England shot out black suit, they turned to dark moths from white moths really quickly, but they were still the same species.
Hmm. So are you saying that Darwinism never happened, or it's just not happening now, and then what happened
I'm
before
saying
was
that
there's just...
Darwin's explanation for how species differentiation occurred
Hmm.
is illogical and not supported by any actual evidence we have. It's all deduced. It's interpreted. It's deduced interpretations of a fossil record.
Yeah.
It's not any sort of like In fact, to the extent that we've done any sort of experimental testing, it's all disproved Darwin.
And your alternate theory is...
Uh, I don't have an alternate theory. I don't know. I do not know how human consciousness came into being. I do know that
Mhm.
it's vastly redundant for the purposes of keeping the species alive and breeding. Like our consciousness is vastly more capable and expansive than any
Yeah.
biological need can justify. The reason it's that way is because language allows us to evolve metaphysically through intercommunication with others. Okay, but Barry, you're not answering the significant problem that I pointed out, which is we've never seen a single speciesation, in other words, a division of one species into two, no matter how much we messed around with it or not. Never. Why not? I just said, why have we never been able to document, show, witness a species go from one species to two, no matter how much we breathe the shit out of them? So they're hugely different. Or no matter if, in fact, the only way that species can evolve is by staying in their isolated places and having very slow environmental pressures slowly cause them to change via reproductive gene primacy, then, well, I mean, it is mathematically impossible. You keep saying mathematically. What about dogs that came from wolves? Well, that's what we assume. I mean, we assume that. But, well, we know that they're genetically related. We know that if evolution occurred, obviously dogs evolved from wolves. If we accept Darwinism, then yes, that's the link. But the thing is, what you're tracing back, you're not tracing back anything. You're showing, look, these two animals that appear similar, behave similarly, are in fact genetically similar. They're very genetically similar. We're deducing this ancestor relationship. We've no evidence of it. Well, I don't need a better theory to know this theory's bad. What do you mean doesn't actually contend? Doesn't contend with what? Well, I mean, my point is, when we discuss the biological realities associated with a planet that persists across many, 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 many generations, then I mean, there's Lamarck said, well, it's because the giraffe stretches its neck because it's reaching for the leaves, and gradually its neck gets longer over the course of its life. So then its child is born with a longer neck, and that didn't make any sense because it wasn't any way to show why that longer neck would have heritability, why it would be transferred on to the offspring. And then Darwin came in and said, well, it's the genes. That's why. That's where those phenotypic displays come from, are these genes. Well, great, but here's the thing. We've proved that genes and heritability are real. We proved all that shit you're talking about there, right? Forget the fossils. Get rid of the fossils. But gene clusters, yeah, all that stuff, right? We proved that genes are real, that we can manipulate them, that we can change the way species look, all that kind of shit, right? And so, because, again, I've already explained that the fossils are just a deductive and a deduced interpretation. It's not even deduced. It's a inferred interpretation of what appears to be what the fossil record obviously suggests, quote unquote. But it's not actually proof of anything. It's just suggestive. It's like, oh, this evidence is consistent with our findings. It's not even confirming them at all. It's just consistent with. I mean, it's just not inconsistent with. It's almost nothing. Okay, so the thing to note though is in the process of proving that genes are manipulatable and that they do in fact impact phenotype, we also proved that they're not related to speciation. It seems pretty obvious. We did that. Which disproves Darwin. I mean, yeah, we know that there are epigenetic shit and that Lamarck was righter than he thought, right? But we also understand that almost all that epigenetic shit is damage. It's chromosomal damage. It's not like, oh, I grew wings because I had such a good childhood. That'd be nice. You know, if you're really treated well, you get superpowers. That seems very unfair. Why the children who get treated badly also get super weaknesses, whereas the children who are treated well have superpowers? That seems unfair. But yeah. No, I don't know anything about science. I'm the most ignorant person I'm the most ignorant person who sounds totally not ignorant that you've ever met. Kind of like, well, why are you arguing this point then, Eric? You've just admitted you don't know anything about biology. I sure sound like I do, don't I? I totally sound like I know about biology. That's better than studying biology, Barry. Okay, you have a bunch of book learning. You got oh great. I got a bunch of book learning. What I got is biology street smarts. Well, yeah, you and Barry can go have a book learning party. How about that? Meanwhile, me and my street smarts will solve the mysteries of the universe. If Waits were here, he'd be with me. I'm sure. Waits would be on my side. Don't worry, everybody. I'm a scientist. What's going on? What do you need solved here? He's having a heart attack. That's cool. I'm all over this. But you're not a doctor. You said you're a scientist. Look, I practice street science. And street science includes all medical stuff. It's better than book science. Oh, street scientist. Can you save him? Sure. When Britain's having a heart attack, all you gotta do is wake up. That's it. So good as new. What happened? The street scientist saved you. Thanks, street scientist. You're welcome. It's all you can thank science for that one, buddy. My work here is done. That book club, Barry, sounds like the worst book club in history. You need to warn me when that book club is starting its book club meeting. I need to stay very far away. The biology book learning club, huh? It's slightly better than chemistry, but worse than physics. Yeah, you guys have fun with that. I strongly encourage you guys to enjoy that. I think you should do that. You know, if you want, I have 3 rooms, one to get no use whatsoever. If you want it, anytime, let me know. I'll give you the login or whatever. Oh, I do want it. I want it to happen. I just don't want to participate in it. If it's going to be book learning, it sounds hard. Like your diagram here, I looked at it and I was like, that looks complicated. Yeah, I know. Well, I probably would. I probably would show up for it. It'd be interesting to sit there and listen to it. And every time I hear anything new, I always walk away with a debate argument. No matter what I learn about, it finds its way into a debate argument. Because I don't really learn about things that don't have any potential offense to them. I mean, well, do you like my critique, Barry, of Darwinism? It's pretty good for somebody who doesn't know any book learning about biology. It simply says, if you want to prove to me that evolution caused speciation, then give me one example of it ever happening. It's pretty easy to get. Well, we didn't see that, though. We assumed that. That happened in the fossil record. Right, okay, I understand ecosystems are connected, but it's. And I also understand that different species have distinct genetic differences. But so do individuals within a species, and I don't think we've encountered a single example of speciation that we could prove caused by anything. Do you? Well, I know that's your claim, but my point is all specifically about just making different species out of what once was one species becoming two. Right? We do agree that species are different, correct? I can't mate with a cat and come out with a half cat, half human. And we agree on the definition of what counts as a different species. It's based on breeding, right? Yeah, that's what you're saying, then we should be able to make that happen somehow, or we should see examples of it, or I mean, why is it okay? But then how is it adaptive? Wait, give me which animal has changed species? Which animal has split into two species? No, we haven't, Barry. What you're saying is you've seen the processes that you extrapolate from and assume that occurs, or you've seen a fossil record from which you infer that that occurs. Those are different things than proving anything, right? Nothing's proved at all. Well, and it would be so simple to prove it if, in fact, Chihuahua couldn't mate with Great Dane, it would prove it, no problem. If, in fact, this kind of fancy chicken couldn't mate with that kind of fancy chicken, it would prove it. We've done significant thousands of years of genetic work on a number of domesticated animals, and yet not one of them has ever changed species. Okay, but see, then if speciation occurs over a very long time, then it's not adaptive. Certainly not the way Darwin said it was. Uh, Barry, don't tell me to read about it. What that says is, shit, I don't know. I think he's right. I don't have any answer for this, so I'm going to tell him to read more about it. You don't need to read about things when the complaint is this simple. I mean, even if you say it's a long time, fine. It's a long time for it to naturally occur because there's not active pressure changing the temperament and nature of the individuals within a species, as there has been in every single domesticated animal from humans. So if the naturally occurring pressures would cause speciation at all, then certainly our maximization of those pressures would cause speciation as well. It's simply unavoidably true that there's something afoul here.
What did I miss?
Oh, I'm just proving evolution wrong.
Ah,
Okay,
because
but
lack of
Barry,
new speciation, right?
Barry's saying we have killed them, that they die. That's why we haven't speciated them. But
I
you see what the
remember
problem there, Barry,
reading
is? You're
some
conceding my
supposed
warrant. You're conceding my
that
warrant. The
there was
reason we
new
haven't speciated.
speciation in finches, but I haven't researched that to know for sure. But I know a few years ago people suggested that they saw changes in finches that constituted a new species at a small level.
Maybe, but did they try to breed them?
I think they were breeding themselves, but they don't know if they'll last
If they
as a
interbreed
species.
with other finches, they're not a new species. That's it. So,
I haven't read the
and I don't know
specifics to
either.
know, but
Okay,
that's worth
but
looking
here's the
into if
thing.
you're interested.
Barry is somebody who is actively studying biology and is fighting desperately to tell me how wrong I'm about this, and yet he still can't provide. He's got full of book learning, can't provide a single example,
Yeah.
and
I
full
still
of
like
book
the
learning
micro level,
can't
talking about
answer my
bacteria, even
point.
though that's simple organisms, but I think that's
Which is
good. The simple organisms of bacteria, which have been shown to change.
Barry. If you knew of a species name, you'd put that bird's name down. This finch, it evolved from this other finch, and they're both still there. What you're saying is the reason that we have failed to demonstrate speciation is because we kill them in the attempt to try to demonstrate it. That's not evidence for your side. That's evidence for my side.
I guess I'll look and see what I can find about those finches, but I haven't read it, so I'm not going to throw in with it. Here's something. Let's see.
I gotta leave here in about 8 minutes because I gotta go have breakfast with my parents
Yeah, I should look too.
at
Tell them hi.
Coco's. Okay, let's see what it says.
Yeah, I'm reading it now too. I just remember hearing about it before. There's pictures.
So, the answer is no. It's not. We have no reason to think it's a new species. They have no reason to believe that they can't mate with the other finches. And this article is wrong when it says we have no clear definition of speciation. Why does it hinge on that? Because Barry, for as long as the species can continue to mate with the other members of the species, then it is diversity within a species. It's diversity within a species. Just like you may look very different from somebody from China, and we have they sing a different kind of song there. We have larger beaks, but they sing a different song. And if you go live there, you'll even try to imitate their song. And you know what? If there's a white woman next to you, you'll probably end up mating with her because you know her song's better. That doesn't make you a different species. And so, if in fact we're relying on natural selection, evolution, or some conglomerate of such ideas to explain the origin of the species, like the title of Darwin's book said, or to explain how it is that we have so many different species or something like that, what we discover is we are all operating on an assumption that is contrary to logic, contrary to facts and evidence, and makes no sense. Well, I mean, but the point is, it can't be an adaptation if it takes thousands of years. This bench article suggests it took 30 years. But if it took 30 years to change species, then why can't we duplicate that more easily? Why can't we cause that to occur in domesticated animals? So, on the one hand, it takes thousands of years, Eric. It's a slow process. We're not going to see it. On the other hand, here's an article where it took 30 years. On the other hand, it's an adaptation thing, Eric. Species need to adapt to environmental changes. On the other hand, it takes thousands of years, so it's going to be a really fucking slow environmental change. On the other hand, it's a conglomerate of interconnected systems. On the other hand, it's genes. We can measure it precisely. Here are the similarities. You got yourself into a massive double bind. Okay, but were there 3 types 2 months ago? If look, can you think of any 2 domesticated animals that once were one species and now are 2? Can you think of a single domesticated animal? Like, let's say there were dogs and there were drogs, which were a lot like dogs, but were different species. Can you think of anything like that in domesticated animals? The reason I mention this is because we've tried our best to speciate dogs. They are enormous, vast differences in phenotype, from little teeny dogs to massive dogs to curlies, every variety of dog we can possibly come up with. We've done everything in our power to make it impossible for that little teeny dog to mate with that big dog. I guess that's a dead end. We've been barking down the wrong street here. Turns out we can't change species through genetic modification. The origin of the species must be something else. Barry, no, Barry, you can't have your cake and eat it too. How long does it take for speciation to occur? A long time or a little time? Which one? Whatever you answer, you're fucked. There's so many contradictions in the thing, you're fucked no matter what. So it could be either this adaptive process of change over time in which genes alter due to geographic, primarily, pressures on certain subsegments of the species, right? Now, that could happen really fast or really long time, okay? But That's not really possible, though, if it's a genes thing, right? It's got to take multiple generations. Now, granted, some species have very short generations, uh, but we know it's going to take multiple generations, right? Okay, so then, if it does take multiple generations, is it an effective way to adapt to environmental change? No, we know that unless it's a super, super, super slow one. Like the glacier is coming closer. It's getting 1 degree colder a year. Okay, fine. Maybe you can adapt to that. But, I mean, it would have to be exactly a certain kind of environmental pressure with this serendipitously protective uh, incubator range where it never gets beyond the species' capacity to hang in there. Except for the ones who it's got to be right on the border so that the ones who have a little bit less fur die from cold and the ones with a little bit more fur don't. And then, fortunately, it happened before any of the little fur ones gave birth to the new. It's like no, no, obviously not, obviously not. That's not how it works. It can't be. It makes no sense. I I agree that the life in the world is speciated. Oh, I gotta go now. Thank you for reminding me. I do have to leave because it'll probably leave in 2 minutes. It'll probably take me 8 minutes to get there. It's just up the street. Uh, well, that's fine. They went through the process of speculation. I agree, and that's a great thing to do. I'm surprised that everyone settled on such an illogical theory. It's not a very good explanation. It runs afoul of its own warrants right away because it tries to establish this is a means of adapting, but the claims it's making are exclusive of that. So I don't know. I'm against genetic evolution as an explanation for speciation and the contemporary splay of life on Earth. I, I say that traditionally, or even more contemporarily understood, natural selection pressures with environmental pressures and multi generational change as adaptation, it's the stupidest lie everybody believes. Except for the McDonald's don't have. That's even stupider. But, I just like to be super contrary, so I could be totally wrong. at the same time. I don't like being surprised. Perhaps I don't like being surprised. Perhaps I wasn't. It may mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. I hate being surprised. Today I wasn't. That may mean what it implies, but probably doesn't. I hate being surprised. Today I wasn't. That may mean what it implies, but probably doesn't. I hate to be surprised. Today I wasn't. It may mean what it implies, but probably doesn't. I hate to be surprised. And today I wasn't. It may mean what it implies, but probably doesn't. Here we go. 2006, a book. Eli is quick, a dark time magic. I stick, I want perhaps a York peppermint patty in the other hand. Where did it come from? If not invented yet, Eli is cork, a dork, time magic, he casting spells, he's letting you know as well how to do it. Easy enough, make the world what you want it to be, determine the boundaries, shape them into a tree, turn them inside out and wonder what happened to me. I don't know, time magic happened, I suppose. It is too powerful for even those of us who exercise power frequently, understand how it works and see the nature of things, who try instead always to sin. Time magic's a great thing, time magic works well, but there are constraints, it's just not a big fat spell. You've got to have understanding and depth of query and both experience with the lack of the nature of a self that's ensured with no permanence or certainty with herds of others who have agreements about how the world aligns and whether or not you should leave now. I don't know, but the other has clear opinions. She's voiced them. She said that perhaps your intention, or perhaps you have tension instead in your back. It needs to be slapped or a crack or whatever they use to remove the tension from a back. It's a lady in high heels walking on your sack. That doesn't sound sensual or sexy or fun or even relaxing. It sounds like fun or tortured, son. You I've checked all the registries. All the precious angel registries. What And you're continuing to argue that your arbitrary bullshit religious reasons ought to be used to justify public policy that points guns at people. I'm telling you that's awful and that God disapproves. Talking with famous people. You think it's okay. That makes you incredibly wrong. I don't like being surprised. Perhaps I wasn't. It may mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. No surprise. No surprise. No, I wasn't. That implies. Perhaps it doesn't. No surprise. No, I wasn't. That implied. Perhaps it doesn't. It's been a dozen years since I. Hey, no surprise. Yesterday. Hey, I don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. Perhaps this means exactly what it implies, but it probably doesn't. Yeah. Surprised. Probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. It could be what it implies, but you know that it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. It might mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. May mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. I might be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. Yeah, it might mean what it implies, but honestly, it probably doesn't. Yesterday. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. This might mean what it implies, but really it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. Yeah, it might mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. Yesterday I like surprise, and yesterday I wasn't. It might mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. This might mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. It was a dozen years ago when I first talked about the time magic and wizards who could cast a spell by shaping reality and, well, making people believe what he wanted them to, and they would do, or be who he said they should be, because it was time magic. See, they had no choice. Perception drives reality. Observers make the changes at the quantum level. They emerge up to the macro level, and we all go, whoa, 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 I'm a particle and a wave. And so the article to save is the, or and. It's not an article, but rather a conjunction, at least a conjunction, which is enough to make you run and have some fun in the sun. Here we go. If you want to. I don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. If you think this means what it implies, well, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. If this means what it implies, then really it probably doesn't. I would not like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. If this means what it implies, well, you know, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. This might mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. If it means what it implies, well, you know, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. And it means what it implies, or you know, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised. And yesterday I wasn't. This could mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. And this could mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. I said yesterday, bye-bye. I don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. But it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. It could mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. It could mean what it implies, but you know, it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. This could mean what it implies, or it could be it doesn't. And I don't like to be surprised. I wasn't. It could mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. Yes, I don't like to be surprised if it wasn't. I don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. Don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. This may mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. I don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. It might mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. I say yesterday. Don't like to be surprised, and yesterday I wasn't. This might mean what it implies, but you know that it probably doesn't. Don't like being surprised. Don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. This could mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. Yesterday I wasn't. Don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. Don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. It might mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. Don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. Don't like being surprised. Don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. Don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. Don't like being surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. This might mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. Don't like to be surprised. Yesterday I wasn't. This might mean what it implies, but it probably doesn't. 2006. This might. Don't like being. Hello?
Hey, Strauss, are we going to meet 12 o'clock in Irvine?
I'm going to be later than that, but I'll be there probably like 12:30.
12:30, okay.
I mean, maybe closer to 12, but let's be safe and say 12:30.
That's okay. It's a Starbucks. So I will just be there 12 o'clock. And once you get here, and we will have a lunch together with Kenny, and she's Joanna's mom, and we will have a lunch together, and then I will drive you to SM.
All right, cool. I'll be there as fast as I can.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Yeah. Can you please, one more thing, Strauss?
Uh-huh.
Can you please reply the email so the school will know that we will be there right around 2?
Let me sit down. Let me look at it right now. Okay, so Gmail.
I'm surprised you didn't get the email last night.
I didn't check it until this morning.
Okay. Yeah, so I just drafted a reply for you and basically telling her that we'll be there right around 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just put, okay, we will see you today around
You know what, Strauss?
2 p.m.
Strauss?
Yeah.
Yeah. Strauss, how about this? Because I spent time putting the email, try to reply it.
I don't.
And I try to put something a little nice there so that, she feel appreciated with the email and the proposal that she came up with.
Yeah, that she's right to be upset at me for blowing that off. But what that proposal demonstrates is why I blew her off, right? That proposal proves that I'm not the person she wants and needs.
I wouldn't see it in that way. And I had a talk with Joanna's mom, and we have the insights from both sides. And that's why we want to meet for lunch.
That's fine. I'm coming right there right now, but I don't see the thing you want me to send her. I don't see your email that you want me to send her.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
You said you don't want me to send her just, okay, we'll see you around 2 p.m. You want me to send her something you wrote, but I can't find that thing that you want me to send her.
Oh, you don't see the email that I sent you?
I see her email, but I don't see your thing that you want me to put in the email.
Oh, let me resend to you. Maybe my email.
Okay, I'm sure it's me, but yeah, if you were sending it, it'd be probably the fastest way for me to get it.
Yeah, let me resend it. I don't know. I think maybe your email is kind of...
My email's fine. It's just got lost in the thread somewhere and I can't find it.
Right. I sense that. That's why...
Well, this is what I mean by I'm not the right person for her, right? She wants to make sure she has somebody that she's going to be responsive to her emails, that are detailed emails, that have lots of extrovert thinking, lots of protocols, lots of directions, lots of logistics. Definitely not an email I'm interested in reading,
She's, I think her idea is more like, as long as there is a good way of communication. I can see that you are not an email person.
I tell you what else I'm not, though. This is the thing that she doesn't understand is why it may not. Listen, I need to leave now so I get there as soon as possible. But I need you to send me that thing. We can talk about it over lunch. But that's the bottom line. I mean, I want to help the kids. I want to work with I want to coach the kids, right? I do not need any input from her at all to do that. I just need her to not get in my way and not expect much from me.
Oh, that's not her intention. She wants to make sure that, because this is the first time communication, and you know what? I just resend you the email that I draft for you. Please make sure you got it.
Okay, I'm checking right now. Yeah, I got it right here. Okay, all right, I got it. So,
Perfect.
it says, that's pretty damn good, Connie's mom. I'm impressed.
Okay.
I'm impressed with that. That's way better than what I was going to say.
Yes, sweetheart. I'm going to meet you.
All right.
12 o'clock. Take your time.
All right, I'm coming as fast as I can. Okay, cool. See you there. Bye.